friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 73, I think. Let me just open my little notes file here. I think that's it, 73. I'm Emily Williams from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where it's kind of a gray day, which makes the light weird in here. And I have this, maybe I better turn that off. I don't know. Is that better? Maybe. Anyway, Chapel Hill, North Carolina is the home of the Carolina blue skies, except it's Carolina gray skies right now. Thanks for joining me. This is Flosstube, meaning cross stitch primarily, and Variety Show meaning something else. And we'll see what that turns out to be. I have so much cross stitch to talk about, potentially to talk about, that I might not have much that isn't cross stitch, but we'll see. Let's get right at it. So first of all, I didn't make a video last week, and many of you seem to have watched the little short video that I did make. Thank you for watching that. A few comments. It just was a crazy week. I didn't have very much stitching time. I have had more stitching this week, though it's still a crazy week. Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather, charted by Golden Kite. Since I last showed this, which was, I think, maybe toward the beginning, I don't know when it was some time ago, but I've done 1,000 stitches, and it's beginning to take shape. I'm now over maybe close to 52% done, and you could see that, I mean, all the stitches aren't there, but you can see that woman sitting on the bench now on the marble step area. And next to her is another woman, and flowers on the bench. And one of the reasons I like showing this on a video is that I see it better when it's farther away. So I'm right about here. So that's quite exciting. I've been trying to do a lot up in this rose bush area where it's extremely heavy confetti, and that means that it takes quite a bit of time to do the same number of stitches, that it would much more time to do the same number of stitches that much less time would take if it were just solid stitching. I don't know. You'll have to translate that. You know what I mean, though, I think. Still enjoying that. I have it in my mind that I could finish it by the end of 2024. We're just about to pass the 2-year mark since I started it, which was the end of March of 2021. So I'm not making hugely fast progress on that, but, you know, kind of steady a little bit. I worked on sampler 193. This is by 2x2 Stitch Art. This is 16 count white Aida, and it's the color is DMC 777, 2 threads of floss. This is going to be really spectacular. I have passed the 25% mark, I think, on this. It's a perfect stitching for watching sports on television. I mean, I do have to use magnification, even though it's Aida and it's 16 count, but it's still pretty easy stitching. And I have to count. It's on Pattern Keeper, so I can very easily keep track of that. I've spent quite a bit of time since the last time I showed you on this Winter Rose Manor by Brenda Gervais with iNeedle and Thread. I really love this, and I've really enjoyed working on it. So here's the whole thing. I finished all the flowers now are in that border. I added a couple of, maybe 3 trees and some more snow down there. And I can't remember if I had started on the fences at all the last time. I also started on the low board, the border at the bottom with the little green vine and the red berries. And I know that it's going to be a huge amount of stitching to do that house. So I'm trying to sort of hit the house from both sides. I'm going to try to finish the snow in the next week or so in order to get over to the house. And, well, it will be, so I have done the 5th tree, so I'm right there in terms of the trees. And so I was thinking I would finish the snow up to this point. Then I would be able to do the steps of the house, and from there work my way up into the house. And in the meantime, I would do this bottom border in order to get over here so that when I get to this part, I would be sure that I was oriented correctly, that I had the right number of stitches and so forth. But I will say that it's slow work doing that, all that fill-in, which is a little bit worrisome when it comes to the house. So I was thinking I might, once I have this fence done, I might do this little flower arrangement. I'm most looking forward to doing those cardinals. I think that's going to be really nice how that comes together. This is Brenda's Brew 36 count linen and the called for overdyed cotton threads, which are a mixture of Weeks, Classic Color Works, and Gentle Arts. The 2 weekends ago was the first weekend of the month, which was Blackbird Designs weekend stitch along, and I've been doing Spell of the Moon from the Winds of Autumn book. So much fun stitching this. Again, I think I had to make that weekend last until Tuesday last time. This is very, very fun. These are just the DMC conversion colors listed in the pattern. And this is, I think, 36 count sand dune lugana. And I don't know the designer, or I mean the dyer. Whoever does dune or sand dune, I can't remember, but it's a nice to work on, nice to stitch on this lugana, and I'm really enjoying this. I think I only had the border before, so I did the moon and the owl and the branch and started up in here. I mean, the next thing that happens is that this tree happens, and then there's a haunted house and a flower pot or something down there. So anyway, it's really fun, very fun. And just to keep up the Blackbird stuff, I mentioned before that I was trying to think of what small I was going to do for the Smalls Exchange that's part of the Great British Sampler Weekend, which is at the end of September. And it is the middle of March, which seems like that is just ages from now. And it is 6 months from now. But 6 months goes by in a flash. It truly does. So this book, I think I showed last time, a new publication by Blackbird Designs, When the Leaves Fall, another autumn projects book. And there's some beautiful things in here, which I possibly will do, a lot of them. But what I decided on, so it's really hard to show this, but this is it's hard to show it without showing the chart, is what I'm trying to say. This is a pumpkin that you make out of 5 motifs. And if I put my hand here, here are some of the motifs. There's 4 of them. And so the idea is you stitch those on a piece of linen, and then you cut them apart and you make a little shape like this at the top, and you end up with the pieces that you then stitch together to form the pumpkin shape, and then you put a stem in it. And it's interesting, there's no picture on the outside of this book of that project. But I decided that those motifs, every one of them is very pretty. And I thought, well, one of them would make a nice small. So I started working on one of them. And this is a piece, the last leftover piece of 32 count limestone lugana. And I think it's a color that's by Zweigart. It's a Zweigart lugana, and I think it's their color. So it's not an overdyed color. It has a ever so slight gray-green tint to it. But this is the fabric that I did the Taste of Summer, I think it was called. A couple of Blackbird Design items from a brochure, a pamphlet, and the Talavera Mystery Stitch Along by Fox and Rabbit from 2 years ago. I did that on this fabric. And so now I'm doing that first motif from, it's called Autumn Abundance, is the name of that pumpkin pattern. And I'm using one thread of the called for DMC. And at first I thought this was 36 count lugana, and one thread would be okay on that. And then I realized after I had been stitching a while that it's 32 count. And so normally I would use 2 threads on 32 count. But I actually like this look. I don't know if the camera shows how open the stitches are, how clear the little crosses are, the little X's. But I actually like this look. And so there's more colors in there, obviously. It's hard for me to show you the picture of what it's going to look like because of the way that page is laid out. I would have to show you the chart or somehow cover it up and get it really close to the camera. And you're just going to have to wait until this is finished. Which I had, when I started this earlier this week, I had this idea in my head that maybe I'll finish it. I don't think I'll finish it. I mean, back up. I thought earlier this week maybe I'd finish it by the time I'm making the video because it was going pretty fast and I was enjoying it so much. It's clear I didn't finish it. Will I finish it by the next video? I would think so. I would think I would finish the stitching. Now, will I fully finish it into whatever it's going to be? No, I won't do that by next video, but that'll be something. Now, interestingly, the pattern for this was originally a class, a retreat exclusive or something like that from some event a few years ago. And as I was beginning to lay out where I was going to start on my piece of fabric, and I was comparing it to the pattern, which says it's 49 stitches high by however many stitches wide, but it was counting the width of all 5 designs. But 49 stitches high was the pertinent part. So I was thinking, well, am I going to, center that, or where do I need to start? Where's the midpoint, and so forth. I realized that if you scrutinize the picture of the pumpkin and you look at the pattern, there are 2 rows missing at the bottom. And when I looked all the way across of all of the motifs, I realized that the pattern was missing 2 rows. Well, because this is a retreat piece from some years ago, I thought, well, probably somewhere on the internet, someone has indicated that there are 2 rows missing, and this is where you can go to find what is supposed to be in those 2 rows. So I went looking and couldn't find it. But I did find a group on Facebook called Fans of Blackbird Designs, I think is the name of it, which I joined and asked if anybody had stitched this as the retreat piece from, or the club piece from a couple of years ago, and could they tell me where to find those 2 rows. And it was misprinted in that club piece too from some years ago. It hadn't been recognized then. And So I had to sort of squint my eyes and try to look at the photograph, the inadequate photograph in the book in order to figure out what was missing. And so I just extended the foot of that basket to match what I think I could see in the photo. So the model was stitched correctly, but the pattern was not reproduced or printed correctly. So that was kind of odd. It'll be fine though. So what else? So normally I don't talk a lot about things I buy. Many floss tubers have a section on haul, or they call it, or one X-Stitch MD, whom I enjoy her floss tubes. She used to call it acquisitions, which I think is very nice. I like that. But I am going to talk about a couple of things today that I've recently received or obtained. First of all, is I ordered some linen from Cedar River Linen and Design, which is a new fabric dyer in the Pacific Northwest, I believe in Oregon. And I think it's Trixie Tricycle, it's sort of hard to say, is her Flosstube name. And she's, very energetic, fun Flosstube to watch. And she has a lot of interest in addition to cross stitch, but she does a ton of cross stitch and beautiful work. It's fairly varied in what kinds of projects she chooses to work on. But she and a friend got going on fabric dyeing, and so they have this new little fabric dyeing company called Cedar River. And I heard about them I heard about the fabric dyeing part of it through Brenda and the Serial Starter, of course, which many of my discoveries in the cross-stitch world have come from watching that video. And if you don't watch them, it's hard to picture that any cross-stitcher, especially anybody who's interested in samplers, doesn't watch them, because they're fantastic and they do a lot of samplers. But anyway, they mentioned this fabric aspect of Trixie Tricycle, Cedar River Linen and Design, and so I ordered some things. So I'll start from this. This is called Arboreal, this color. It's a beautiful piney woods kind of green color. And this is 40 count linen. I got a fat quarter. Very pretty color. I could picture a Christmas or wintry scene design on it, maybe worked in light colored thread. I think that could be nice. Or really a lot of things that you would be willing to work sort of reverse with brighter colors or light colors on a dark background. And this is called Red Cedar. And this is for 20 count Aida. So I was really pleased that they do Aida, not just linen, because I really like stitching on Aida. And this is it's hard for me to show it in the right way that you could see the color. It looks kind of like a brick red in this light, but I would say it is a little redder than it looks. It looks on the camera, what I can see, it looks orangey, and it's a little redder than that, but it is an orangey red. Very pretty. A very slight amount of modeling to it, not overwhelmingly so. Very nice. And then finally, this is their third color. I think they only have the 3 colors, called Tephra. This is a beautiful color. I like this. It's a little bit warm. It's sort of a warm tan color, and this is a fat quarter, and this is also 20 count Aida. Now, from where you're looking from the camera, well, from the distance that I can see it, as if I were looking at it on the camera, I wouldn't really be able to tell that it was Aida and not linen, because it's a small count or a large count, whatever you want to say. Small size Aida. Really nice. I might have to get myself some more of that because it's such a nice sampler color. So that's one thing I got. Another thing I got, among some other things, is this pattern by Heart and Hand, which I heard about on the Brenda and the Serial Starter YouTube. And I got this. It's a little design. Does it give it size on the back? No, it gives it here. It's 85 by 95. I mean, it's sort of a cute alphabet, and that's the cuckoo bird. And that's the picture of the front of it. And on the back, it says, designer's note, for Brenda and Laura, who inspire creativity and connection in our community. And I just think that's fantastic. I was so taken with it that as soon as I saw them mention it on their Flosstube, I found it. I ordered it. It's new release, and I'm going to stitch it. And I had announced on Instagram that I was going to do a stitch along starting April 20th. There may be something else going on, which I will defer to, whatever else is going on, because I am nobody. I should not be taking the lead on a stitch along on that project, but I will definitely join in with a stitch along on it, whatever is announced. And I was thinking I could do that as sort of an ecru or a cream colored thread on this red cedar fabric that I have. I think that would be pretty cool. So I might do that. We'll see. But that was fun to get that. It's quite an honor. Brenda and Laura deserve to be honored by the cross-stitching community, I think, because they are very inspirational. They show a lot of different patterns by different designers. They do a lot of different stitching themselves, both samplers and small pieces. And they're fun to watch, and they are encouraging of all of us, no matter what our particular preferences are. Stitch what you love is one of their mantras, Brenda's especially, and they are not disdainful of any particular, fabric choices. You don't have to stitch on 56 count linen in order to be in the club. You just have to love stitching and love what you're doing. Choose pieces to stitch that you enjoy stitching. And so I think that's great. And DMC is good, Anchor, good, overdyed cottons are good, silk is good, it's all good. Stitch what you love, and I appreciate that. I recently, when I first discovered them, they had already made 20 YouTube videos or so. And so I went backwards actually and started again from the beginning so that I would catch up and have seen all of their videos. And recently I just had an evening free, and I just thought, let me just go back and rewatch the very first one just to see how far they've come and, whether they've changed their approach or anything. And really the only thing that they've changed is their location. And now they're in the location where you can hear the cuckoo clock from time to time, which is what this pattern is honoring. And anyway, they have not changed. They've been very consistent in their philosophy and their encouragement and their inspirational qualities as sampler stitchers. So those are a couple of things that I got. And then I got an amazing opportunity. So some of you know, most of you probably know that Nicola Parkman is the brain behind Hands Across the Sea Designs. And this Great British Sampler Weekend that I'm going to be attending with my friend Leslie at the end of September, beginning of October in England, is her brainchild. Nicola's brainchild, not Leslie's. And so I've, been sort of beginning to follow her more I saw some of her videos before learning about this sampler weekend, but I've been following her much more closely since signing up for that. And recently she celebrated her 60th birthday in February. And she created a special collection of samplers in honor of her 60th birthday that she called Letters from Europe. And the idea being that it's hard to travel these days with COVID and whatever else. And so instead of traveling around Europe, we will take a tour of Europe by means of samplers, by means of these particular cross-stitch charts. And so she created this box. She said, I've only created 10 boxes per year of my life, so that's 600 boxes. And they were going to go on sale at a certain moment on whatever date it was in mid-February. So whatever moment that was an inconvenient time for me. It was early Eastern time in the United States. It was not really convenient, or maybe it was just not convenient for me because I tend to stay up late and sleep late these days. So I thought, well, today was the day. Let me go to the website and see if by chance any of those boxes are left. And there weren't left. And my friend Leslie didn't get one either. We agreed that we have plenty to work on. We don't need to bemoan the fact that we didn't get to have one of Nicola's special birthday boxes. And so we didn't bemoan it. And Leslie really didn't bemoan it because an acquaintance of hers contacted her and said, so I got one of those boxes and I've opened it and I think it's great, except that it isn't really my style. Would you like to buy it from me? And Leslie said, well, I wouldn't, but I have a friend who might, and put us in contact with each other. So I did. I bought it. So I ended up getting one, not expecting to. Well, if you want to know what's in it, so first of all, if you ordered one and you haven't received it yet because it's caught in customs in Chicago or in Australia or wherever you live, I'm not going to show everything that's in the box right now, but I am going to show a few things in a moment. So you can keep listening to me for a moment. But for the rest of you, if you want to know what's in the box, I'm not going to do a full unboxing of it because I can't do it justice. You should really watch Nicola's own video that she posted the day before yesterday, I think it was, of her unboxing her own box and describing why she chose the different things that are in the box. Because it's not only that she does a better job describing it because she picked them out to start with, but she's very winsome in it. And it's clear how personal her selections were and how each of the locations that they represent and the particular designs that they are mean something to her. And so it becomes a much more personal tribute to her 60th birthday than me just showing you things, or than I imagined it would be. I mean, I imagined it would be a collection of interesting things that would be, kind of fun to have and interesting, and a few limited edition charts and that sort of thing. Well, when I saw her video, I was quite inspired. And whereas when I opened it, I thought, oh, two or three of these I would stitch. I now think I want to stitch them all, just because of the way they link together and the way Nicola described it all. So my insanity increases, and I think I'm going to stitch a whole bunch of these samplers. I'm looking at the time on my video, and I will commit to you that in 1 minute I will stop showing things. But I'm going to just show things for 1 minute starting now. And the one thing I want to show, so you can skip it. In other words, those of you who are already not watching can skip ahead. The one thing I'm going to show is this thing, which is sort of thematic of what's in the box. I don't know if you can see that very well. Let me put my hand behind it. Hopefully the camera's focusing. this is a thing from Minnie McBean, which if you follow Nicola at all, you know she loves her creations, little charms. This is a scissor fob, and it has this little deal. I don't know what these are called, but this is an image from a particular sampler that Nicola particularly likes. That's a Hands Across the Sea sampler. And because we're traveling together on this little tour around Europe, we have a suitcase charm, and then we have our passport, and then we have the Eiffel Tower, and we have the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which represent two countries that we're going to visit by ship. And here's a ship. Can you see that? And she then put the heart, had the heart at the bottom to represent that these things are all close to her heart. And then we do also some overland travel. Once we get off the ship, we travel around and on land, a couple places. This is really nice. Now, I imagined when I first unpacked it, or actually when I first saw her show these on her videos, I thought, oh, that is the stupidest idea. Why would anybody want this dangly, heavy thing on their scissors? And so I thought, well, that is not ever going to be of interest to me. I'm not going to get one of those ever. So it turns out I have one. So you just clip it over, you know, it's one of these separating rings. You just clip it over your scissors. These are my Appliquick embroidery scissors that I got from the Appliquick booth at the quilt show. And come to find out, I don't mind using them. It does not bother me. So that, I was surprised that it didn't bother me. Whoops, it's been more than a minute. Sorry if anybody got spoiled and didn't mean to be. I'm done now. I was surprised that it didn't bother me to handle my scissors like that. So anyway, I do have that. I will be stitching these. I'm not sure in what order I'm going to stitch them, if I'm going to stitch them in the order that they are presented in the box, or if I'm going to start with them in a different order. But I will stitch at least some of them, if not all of them. What else is going on? Oh, I'm going to stick a picture in here of the purple sampler, which you may remember I made last year for my friend Anne, and I gave it to her at Christmas. Well, it was a commission, but I finished it, so I wrapped it up at Christmas as if it were a present. And she took it home and she had it framed. And so this picture that I'm now showing while I'm talking, hopefully I've figured out how to do this, is of the sampler as it now exists as a framed item. And I could not be more pleased with how she chose to frame it. And I'm not going to show you the picture of where it is in her house because I'm not going to show the inside of someone else's house, but I'm really pleased with that. It was very fun to stitch and fun to pick it out, which makes me remember that I'm theoretically working on my own sampler. I have to get deciding on some things that I need to chart myself, and then decide how much charting I'm going to do that would represent how much charting I'm going to do and how much I'm going to do improv. I'm going to have to do some charting because I'm laying out a wide piece, and I don't think I want to improv that. It needs to have some amount of balance to it, but I have to get moving on that. Those are the only things I had written down. Since I last videoed, which has been 2 weeks, I've had a pretty busy couple of weeks, so I don't have other types of, what's my word? Other types of variety show, there's the word, that I have ready to talk about. Hopefully next time I will. I have every intent of making a video next week. If you want to, if you want to not miss a video, if it's made off cycle, or if I skip a week and then pick up another week, as I did this time, I do suggest that you subscribe and then click the little notification bell, because then you'll get notified somehow, however you have your YouTube set up. It will notify you when I make a video. So if you don't want to miss it, do that. I so appreciate your joining me. It's a lot of fun for me to make the videos and to think about what I want to show you and what I want to talk about. And it's very inspiring to me to keep working at things. So thanks for being my audience, my friends, as I engage in this stitching world. And I guess that's it. So many blessings to you, friends.